Hello, good day, everyone. It's your boy KB here, and today I wanted to take this opportunity to really give you some nuggets about the condition in Canada so far. And we're just going to be talking about interest rates. And the government of Canada, as of yesterday, June 12th, actually raised the interest rate to 5%. So it was 4.75, but the government decided to actually raise this interest rate to 5%. So as a real estate investor, or even if you're a first-time home buyer, what does this mean to you, and what impact does it have on your lifestyle and even your own personal spending? And in addition, if you're somebody that's also renting from somebody, how does it also impact you? So I just wanted to do this video. It's going to be a very short one to also educate individuals about this interest rate and what it means. So I took some notes. It's always good to do some research and just to kind of bring the facts to individuals, because we are having a lot of people contacting or calling, and they're also looking for accommodations, especially international students, visitors. Everybody is calling, and I think I wanted to do this video to highlight this interest rate in particular, and also talk a little bit about accommodation in Canada. So the interest rate, as I've mentioned before, was raised on June 12 from 4.75 to 5%. So what it means is that about a year and a half ago, or I would say during the COVID time, the government of Canada took the interest to actually lower interest rates. So interest rates went as far as low as some banks were offering 1.25, even 2%, 1.3, 1.4. There was actually a bank that actually issued an interest rate as low as 0.99. And that was the first time in Canadian history a mortgage rate has gone below 1%. So what it means was that at that particular time, the housing prices was also very high, because anytime you look at interest rates, it correlates with the housing prices. So anytime interest rate goes down, house prices goes up, and vice versa. Interest rate goes up, house prices goes down. So this is a vice versa relationship. So with that in place, the government did that to stimulate the Canadian economy. Because of the COVID and also the war in Ukraine, the government of Canada needed this sort of stimulation to actually bring the economy to a par. So this is the initiative the government of Canada did. But with time, we also realized that this was not sustainable, because now inflation was going as high as 8.1% in Canada. And anytime you have a very high inflation rate, is the mandate of the government of Canada to also make sure they control it. Ideally, the government of Canada would like an inflation rate to be as low as 2% and even below. So anytime that it goes over the target of 2%, is the mandate is to be able to do whatever it takes to bring this inflation down. And to bring this inflation down, the government has to find a way to control consumer spending, which means the individuals buying houses and buying items they might not need. Is the mandate from the government to really make sure they control these inflationary rates. So one of the areas that usually get first targeted is the housing market. And usually the government does this and actually start raising the interest rates. So about a year and a half ago or so, the government started raising the interest rates. So as I mentioned before, this was as low as 1.25 or even 0.99. The government has raised the interest rate 10 times for the last a year and a half or so. And this started somewhere in March 2022. They raised the interest rates, and individuals that have houses, they begin to feel the pain. The way the interest rate works in Canada is that we have two different sectors of mortgages. You have your fixed mortgages, and also you have your variable mortgage rate. And I think I've explained this in one of my videos. And what that means is that anyone that has a fixed rate mortgage, usually your mortgage doesn't go up. So for example, if you sign up for a 5-year mortgage rate and it's a fixed rate, it does not go up if the government increases the mortgage the rates. But saying that if you have a very variable rate and the interest start increasing, then definitely your mortgage amount is gonna go up. So as the government beginning to hike the rate, people started feeling the pain. So it made a lot of Canadians, it becomes a bit tight. But also there's a correlation between the interest rates and housing rental, because now the prices of renting also goes up anytime the interest rate also goes up. So the government of Canada recently on June 12 just did, I would say, probably the last interest rate hike for the rest of the year, which is 2023. So right now we're currently sitting at 5%. In comparison with other countries across the globe, when I was doing my research, some places like Argentina, Pakistan, these places are as high as 40%, 24%. So relatively, it's still pretty low in terms of interest rate. But in Canada, we're not really used to this very high interest rate amount, such as 5%. So it puts a lot of pressure on individuals and families. So for example, if a family has children that they put their kids into some programs, because of that high interest rate, now they need to cut back. So these are all having a very much effect on the Canadian individuals and their spending habits. But also what it does is that the moment that we started raising this interest rate, it also helps our inflation. And let's talk a little bit about the Canadian inflation and the job market. As of last month, which was May, the government was able to add about 60,000 new jobs to the Canadian economy. And as of May, our inflation rate has dropped from 8.1 to about 3.4, which is also very significant. So that tells you that all the interest rate the government is raising is actually helping with the economy in terms of inflation. And if you take like food prices and also like gas prices, which most people call it petrol, whatever the country they are in, if you take these gas prices and food prices, then ideally you could see that the inflation rate is below the 2%, which is the target rate for the government. So overall, that's pretty also a very good news. So right now, as we speak now, the interest rate is at 5%, but the economists are saying that this might be the last hike for the year 2023, because a lot of people cannot even pay their mortgages. If you look at somebody that had a 1.25 interest rate mortgage about a year and a half ago, and they bought a house because of that low interest rate, now they expect to pay as much as 5% of mortgage. That's quite high. So saying if you're paying $1,500 or $2,000, this has actually tripled. So where would you find the money, even though your working income hasn't gone up? That's going to be very difficult. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to address this interest rate and currently what is going on in Canada in terms of the housing market. So somebody might also ask, Kwabena, is it a time to buy? Is it a good time to buy? And I did a video about 4 or 5 months ago, and when the interest rate was paused back in January, I advised people and I predicted that people should buy a house right away, because I knew that this day was coming where there's going to be more strikes of interest rates coming or hikes. So my advice was the individual should buy a house right away, because now the government was pausing the interest rate. It was a good time to actually get locked in and see how things go. So people that heed my advice and listen, they actually bought these houses and actually benefited them. And the individuals that did not buy it, now they are also finding that the interest rate is going up. So as we speak right now, it's July 2023, and people are asking, Kwabena, even though the interest rate is at 5%, is it still a good time to buy? And my answer still remains the same. There is never a good time to buy a house. Anytime you have the opportunity, I think it's also very good. The reason why I'm saying that is, even though the interest rate is around 5%, that's for the variable rate. If you go for a fixed rate, you might get it for around 4 point something. It's still close to 5%, but I think the fixed rate is good. But what I've been preaching to individuals is that no condition is permanent. And what I mean by that is, the way that the interest rate went down about a year and a half ago, and it kind of went up again, the same trajectory is going to happen where the rates are going to drop again eventually. And the prediction is that coming 2024, at least mid 2024 to 2025, these rates are going to be dropping significantly. So if you have money right now, a house that you would have bought it for about 1 million, now you're getting about 700,000. You can buy it for about $700,000. That's about $300,000 discount. A house that could have cost you 2 million, now this house is going to cost you about 1.6, 1.7. You're saving about $400,000. If you do the math now, and even if you get this 5% interest rate and you pay a little bit more, in comparison, if the interest rates start going down and this house's prices start going up, a house that you bought for a discount of $400,000, now you can make this money back and even more. And what is so important is that if you're making this money back, the interest rate that was higher, the amount that you pay in comparison, even if you sacrifice for a year or two, you might pay about $30,000 more. Now subtract the $30,000 from $400,000 you gain. It's insignificant, and the math is very, very simple. So in life, it's all about sacrifices, and sometimes people get very, very afraid and get scared when the interest rates are going up. But I always stand where I stand. If you have the money and the conditions are good, just go ahead and purchase. But always make sure you do your homework. Do your homework. Make sure you're comfortable with the decision that you're making, and do your research so that at least you're comfortable and it doesn't put so much strain on your lifestyle and your family. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to explain a little bit about the interest rate and the current condition in Canada. But as I said, no condition is permanent. And if you are deciding to buy a home, here I am touring one of the biggest houses in this neighborhood that I just currently are. So definitely, if you are interested in buying a house, I don't think there's a better time to buy. And do not let the interest rate persuade you, but do your homework, do your research, and make sure that you land on a good spot. Welcome to Canada, presenting Canada to the world. It's your boy KB, and I'm going to be ending the video. If you have any inquiries, put your comments below, and we'll go from here. We'll bring you another episode. Peace.